Hello and welcome to our latest in the English Derby podcasts. I'm joining you here on the Matchbook platform with a great pal of mine, Paul Lawrence, a man who has basically done everything in greyhound racing, from being kennel hand to being professional punter, from being trainer, commentator. Is there anything you haven't actually done, Paul? I have to ask that question. Of course, you're commentator for this year's Derby at Towcester. What exactly haven't you done?
Yeah, you're right. I've had done various roles within the industry, a race manager as well. So, and of course, Lorraine was a stipendiary steward, so we kind of get different angles from the sport. So it just gives you a good background, doesn't it? I mean, the thing is, it's a bit like yourself. You kind of once you get into the sport, you just get hooked and you can't let go.
Yeah, the bug is there. There's no question about it. It's easy to get hooked on us when it's racing like we're seeing at Towcester at the moment. Listen, let's not gloss over. There's a lot of people complaining about various incidents and actions and things that are happening. But by all accounts, if you take a step back and look at the Derby as a whole, it's been hugely entertaining. Okay, it has been a little bit unpredictable at times, but yet we're left with, well, unfortunately, 23 greyhounds following the withdrawal of Fach and Rebel. But we're left with 23 greyhounds of the highest caliber, and it's still there for the winning. It's wide open.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be fair, most of the greyhounds that you expected to be there are there, apart from obviously the Maestro dog. He kind of just picked up a niggle, it appears, but other than that, it hasn't been too bad for the kind of cream rising to the top, really. So yeah, it's going to give us some real top class racing for next Saturday.
Of course, you get to go to track every night. You've been there for every single night of the Derby thus far. You're the man on the mic. I suppose a great joy to get back to the track.
Oh, it is, yeah. It was. I mean, last year at Nottingham, I did it remotely for the first few rounds, but I did go for the semi-finals and the final. So it was kind of a bit more of an atmosphere, but it wasn't hardly an atmosphere because there weren't anyone around me. But the thing is, this year with Towcester, there are crowds there. There's a buzz. It's the right time of year as well, isn't it? June and the weather's been great. The setting at Towcester is just, well, it's so unique. It's incredible, and it does give you a good vibe. To be fair, I really enjoyed going to the track.
Before we get into the serious stuff, I have to ask you about yourself. You're talking about beautiful settings. You're going to be journeying across the water at some point in the near future. You're going to be taking up duty at Lifford. Back to racing management, it seems. There's no better part of the world than County Donegal. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, we're hoping to get the license tomorrow. There's a meeting tomorrow, and to be fair to the GRI, it's been tough work. We've had to do a business plan. We've had to answer a lot of questions. But I think really, if you look at it from the other side, the GRI are just doing due diligence. So I just feel that it's been hard work and it's kind of been drawn out somewhat, but I think you mentioned it. It's one of those things where there was a long way to go, and I think you were right in that you have to prove that you can operate a track and do it to the best of the capabilities under the GRI jurisdiction. So it's been important. They have invited us onto their board meeting representation tomorrow, so I'm hoping that will kind of seal the deal tomorrow.
Yeah, well, touch wood. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. Listen, we'll get into the serious stuff now in a moment. Before we do, just let you know, those of you wishing to get involved in the Derby action, or indeed any greyhound racing action, there's currently a sign-up bonus. If you use the code Greyhounds, all capitals, you bet €10 on any greyhound, you'll get another €10 to having the same dog. So let's say if Paul is putting up one at 5 or 6 to 1 in the Derby on the weekend, have your tenner on and then have another tenner on. And instead of getting paid at, 5 to 1 to your tenner, it effectively feels like you're getting paid either 10 to 1 to your tenner or 5 to 1 to your score, whichever way you want to work it, Paul. We are going to get into it now. Of course, every day, Matchbook, first up with the bags prices in the morning. That's the only exchange to offer that. So make sure you get involved. If you are into your dogs and indeed you are looking to back one of the bags, it's available there in the morning. But now, Paul, let's get into it. The Derby. We're at the quarterfinal stage. The last 23, as we said, unfortunately, Fach and Rebel is out. To this point, what's been the standout, or has there been a case of they've all taken their chance to shine, or is there anything that's really caught your eye?
I think one of the greyhounds that I've got a bit of an affinity with is Dear Jet Sydney. I mentioned last year in the COVID situation with with the Nottingham derby. The only man that came and sat with me on that derby final night, I had to call from a monitor. I couldn't go up in the steward's box. I had to call from a big screen. A lot of the trainers walked past to go and get some food. The only man that actually sat with me was Pat Buckley, and we had a good old chat. And that is, you'll know yourself, there's kind of lasting memories that you take from certain moments in your life. And it might sound a bit soppy, but it meant a lot to me. Emma was there with him, but he came and sat with me, and he just sat, and we were just chatting about the derby. And I said to Pat, I said, I really think your dog has got a massive chance. I really do. It's just something about him. He's got a lot of quality. He's got a will to win, and of course he's got derby pace, and that's the key to it all. But he's with a master trainer. So all in all, I mean, I would love to see Dear Jet Sydney regain his crown. And I've kind of been bigging up that very fact at the track. It's been difficult at Towcester in that there isn't the Towcester TV anymore. And I don't really want it to be the Paul Lawrence show, Ian. I just want it to be good for the sport. Yeah, there has been teething problems at Towcester, you're right. But I just think Emma Buckley she's just so marketable. She's just got a beautiful way with presenting herself. I think that's obviously through her father. The dogs look immaculate, and you can see there's a bond there, and I think that's special. And I think that's something that Greyhound Racing should promote. So Dear Jet Sydney's a dog that I would love to see in the final.
Yeah, listen, on the bare facts of it, he's 3 from 3. He's doing everything right. The first night missed the kick, had to wait for a gap. When it opened, he shot through it. I like the way he's assertive in his actions. He's assertive in his movements. He knows what he wants to do on a greyhound track. When dogs break up well on the inside, he doesn't cut in. When they don't, he cuts in. He has room. That first night, I think it really sort of just told you about the dog in terms of his maturity, apart from everything else, his strength. Coney Wonderland moved off that second bend, and he just shot through the gap. He was gone. In a matter of strides, he was 4 or 5 clear. You could hear it in your voice. It was like, and here comes Dear Jet Sydney. And he's gone. There was no sort of ifs or buts about it. He knew what he was doing. I suppose Pat Buckley probably is the man to beat, given the fact that Dear Jet Sydney is heading the market. He's currently 5.9 best price with Matchbook across the board. And Knock the Bull Sid, his second runner, his only other runner now following the elimination of the likes of Glengar Bale, 8.2 on the exchange. They're 2 rock solid challengers. They're 2 greyhounds that if you were probably to pick an ideal style of racing for Towcester, it's them. They're both capable of a flash start, but when they don't get it, they have the pace, they have the power, and they're probably stronger than they were last year.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that was the thing with Not the Bull Sid, wasn't it? In that he drew trap 2, and he looked a little bit sluggish in the first 2 rounds. And I was surprised when Pat said to request drawing in middle. I was surprised, but I think that he kind of, and I know why he was doing it. I didn't even have to ask a question. I haven't got Pat Buckley's number. I kind of communicate with Emma through a Twitter private message, but I kind of, as I say, I really like talking to Pat. I just think that switch was to fetch him out the boxes, because he was doing 29 40s and 50s with sluggish starts. So you knew that there was an improvement there from his trapping ability. And I think even when he was in the Easter Cup final, was he in 6 in the Easter Cup final, Ian?
He was out wider than ideal. Yeah, he was 5 or 6. Yeah, he probably was 6 actually.
I think it was 6. Yeah, and I kind of looked at the makeup and I thought, well, that's not really going to worry you, because you're that ping electric breaker. And I think that's the key to it. He'll edge in. I don't think he'll go in violently by any means. I think probably if you say, what's his perfect box, you'd probably say 3. So 4 is not really going to be a hindrance to him when he's cracking out and doing those good sectionals. I think it was a masterstroke. The one thing is that I think throughout this derby is that there are a lot of dogs that want the 3, possibly the 4, but the trainers are too scared to seed the middle because they're scared of getting the 5 or 6 in some occasions. I can understand that, but I do feel, I mean, I do the Derby lanes. My ethos is betting dogs in a straight line. Forest Gold, he's in the first quarter. He's got to be moving off. In my eyes, I was trying to encourage Kevin to seed in middle, but there's only so much you can do. It's like holding a gun to the head, because in the back of your mind they can get trap 6. So it's a difficult, really, really difficult one.
I think the Irish trainers have been quicker to reseed their dogs middle, because they're aware of these boxes, probably more aware of these boxes than the UK trainers. It happened in Shelburne Park we're talking 6-7 years ago at this point, when those boxes initially went in, probably even more, and it was the middle ram. And what was happening was it's ramming up the middle, and it may just be even the slightest of a bow inside to outside, or from the middle out, and an inch from traps 3 and 4 is all the difference. Those dogs in 3 and 4 were the flash traps at Shelburne Park for quite some time, until they added a second ram. They spaced them out between, it's probably between 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, or something along those lines. Like, offhand, I couldn't tell you. But they also strengthened the bottom bar, so the traps are less likely to bow slightly, and as a result, you can flash from any box at Shelburne Park. I'm sure that's something Towcester will look at in the future, because, in fairness to them, they're very proactive. Anytime anything has come up, they've acted upon it, and I think they've done very well to get us to this point where we're pretty confident back dogs at Towcester, given the fact that it's probably their third different track in the last 4 or 5 years, before it opened, before it closed, should I say, since it's reopened, and then the new traps. And the new traps have basically changed the track completely. Would you agree in those statements?
Yeah, and you're right. I think that there has been a lot of people that have complained. It's like most things, but people complained about Wimbledon. People complained about Nottingham. There's a lot of people that, I suppose, with social media now, the negativity comes out, and you can see the negativity. But I mean, looking at Lifford, it's got to be a massive thing to run a Greyhound stadium. You can't always get everything right all of the time. But I think you do have to have that ability to listen, take other people's opinions on board, and then act. And I think, to be fair to Towcester, I think they have done that.
You can't act on everything at once. You just have to act on what you have to nearly prioritize, and they've made the right decisions.
I agree with that. And to be fair, Nathan Corden is one of those. He's another one, isn't he? He's a bit like you. He's a bit like myself. We've been in Greyhounds a long, long time, and you're not in Greyhounds a long, long time without picking up, a fair bit of knowledge. Nathan's run Southall Racecourse. He's run Nottingham. I've always found Nathan approachable. The one thing with Nathan Corden, he will listen, and that is one thing, that he's a good communicator, and he will listen and he will act. He was there. He's there in the front every night. He is there by the presentation area, open to anybody to talk to him. And I think you're right, Ian. I think he has listened. And yes, there have been mistakes that might have been made, but it's a work in progress. It's a beautiful setting. You cannot argue that. To go there and witness that atmosphere on a Saturday evening, it is fantastic.
Yeah, like you said it there, but you said it yourself. Like, people still complain about Shelburne Park. It's there for 90 years. It's recognised as probably the most famous Greyhound stadium in the world. I remember Wimbledon. I had some great experiences there, but everyone just gave out about the place. And when it closed, it's the worst thing that ever happened. Exactly. We missed the place, and we do miss the place. And it was a unique test. Nottingham, for one of the truest tests of a racing greyhound in the in UK and Ireland, and people were giving out about it. There are always going to be issues. Listen, there's no perfect greyhound track out there, but there are going to be issues. Listen, we'll move on, because let's start talking about the dogs themselves, Paul. We'll look through the quarterfinals. We'll go through them not relatively quickly. We're in no rush. The opening heat on Saturday night coming due off at around 25-9. It's the opening quarterfinal, and here, speaking of Dear Jet Sydney, he's racing from trap 3. He's 155 thereabouts in Matchbook. That's about the best that's on offer out there. Generally a 2-on chance. You probably have no fears for him, even though Forest Gold's on the inside. The fact that he is in the one box means he probably won't come away flying, whereas Dear Jet City will probably come away that length better from 3 than 2. For all that he's the tightest railer in the country, he probably is a better starter from the middle. He's just going to flash out and make all. That's my sort of reading of it. I fear for Toolmaker Sydney, however.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I mean, if you look at that and you look at the cold heart light of day and look at the lanes that I put up last night when I did the Derby lanes for Racing Post TV, Forest Gold, I think, essentially wants to be trap 3, and Dear Jet Sydney wants to be 1. So yeah, they're drawn completely wrong, and I guess to a certain extent that sort of thing will always happen, because you're not going to get dogs that want trap 0 like Dear Jet Sydney does. You're not always going to get that. There are a few of them, but I agree with you. I think that Forest Gold is more likely to miss it or not break to his best ability, shall we say, and then he's going to be taking his time to do that. And like you said about earlier on about the inches with the traps, that is going to be crucial when you want to run your optimum racing time, your fastest racing time. You need to do it in a straight line. Now, Dear Jet Sydney's not going to be doing it in a straight line, but he's just going to. I'm the same as you. I think that he could break better, because I don't think we've seen Dear Jet Sydney break or smash the bars down as yet. He's just used his class, his raw pace, and his determination to get to the front. I think I do agree with you. I think you're spot on there, Ian, that Dear Jet Sydney will come flying out the boxes and he'll cut right across 1 and 2, and that could put their chances at risk. I don't want to see Dear Jet Sydney in trap 3. I don't want to see him in trap 3, and I don't really want to be betting it at 1.55, because that's the sort of price I make him. I don't think there's any sweets in that price, but I do agree with you, Ian. I think he will come flying out the box. He'll claim the rails. That's my manner, and see you later.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If he does, let's say, half miss it, he's not good. He's one of those dogs where if there are dogs in his inside, he's not going to dive straight in on them. He tends to wait for the gap and move across. If he does half miss it, what way could the race end up being? It's going to get tight in the inside if he doesn't take a flyer. Cold as ice will be finishing like a train. Will he be close enough? Drumcrow Brent is running very well. He's just a really strong, hard-running greyhound. He's well housed in trap 6, although Pacemaker Ted is going to go up fast. We know that.
Yeah, the dogs in 5 and 6, that they've got sound ability, sort of 500 meter. Pacemaker Ted has always been a greyhound that I thought was an early bird that didn't quite stay, and I do think he's probably lost half a yard of early, and he's staying that little bit better these days for Tom Heilbronn. I think 5 is going to suit him well. I think that the way that they're drawn with there being 2 wides. I think this is the first time we've seen 2 wides. I think I'm correct in saying in a heat. So Drumcrow Brent he was laying 6.5, if you like. So they are drawn right. So if there is any crowding, they have got an opportunity to be prominent in the race. I do feel as well that the Cold as Ice has got a really good makeup here to qualify. He's more of a 6-bend greyhound, but he's got like a 29.30 on his card. So he can run. He's a track record holder over 6 bends at Newcastle, and I think he's got a really, really good makeup drawn down the middle as he is. So if Dear Jet Sydney flashes out, I then think that Cold as Ice can qualify. If Dear Jet Sydney doesn't flash out, he could spend a lot of time edging into Toolmaker Sydney. I mean, they met at Waterford, Toolmaker Sydney and Dear Jet Sydney. Toolmaker Sydney was in 1, Dear Jet Sydney was in 3. I think it was the semi-finals of the Select. And Dear Jet Sydney went wallop, but he just claimed the rails, and that was it. And he cleared Toolmaker Sydney easily. And I really hope, for the sake of a clean race, that's what happens here.
Yeah, if Dear Jet Sydney, like in fairness for Toolmaker Sydney, while Dear Jet Sydney, if he gets his flying start, will cut straight across, it could be the best thing happened to Toolmaker Sydney, because then he might have room to manoeuvre if the Forest dog is moving off the fence. Toolmaker Sydney's massive down the back, and he's staying a lot better than I thought he would last year. He's I know he's a lot of age on the side. He's a January 18, but he's a different greyhound in Towcester than he was in Ireland. I think the mechanism seems to be suiting him. He seems to be trapping a lot better. At the same time, he's going to struggle to match Dear Jet Sydney in the opening yards. It's quite a battle on for the remaining places, but the best bet is Dear Jet Sydney. I don't think either of us are going to oppose him, Paul.
I can't oppose him. I don't really want to go head down on him, Ian, but I can't oppose him. I just think he's just a fantastic greyhound. And then it could be a race for the places. I mean, I think Forest Gold, as you'd agree, he's got to lead to win, really, hasn't he? And I don't really see him clearing Dear Jet Sydney. If he comes out and Dear Jet Sydney comes out, they could actually have a bit of a bump in session to the turn. But yeah, you're right. Toolmaker Sydney looks like he's staying really well these days. He seems to be fiddling his way around the first bend somewhat, and then unleashing that really serious back straight pace. But he's coming home well as well. So he could, if he gets any kind of run out of the second turn, he could qualify.
Yeah. If you were having your relocation fees on Trap 3 Deirdre Sydney 155, where would the saver be going?
I think I might go for Cold as Ice, because I think Cold as Ice is going to be a decent price, and I just think he's got a really good maker. If you're looking at the way the what the Australians would call a map, the map of the race, Deirdre Sydney's going to go in the ways. Pacemaker Ted's going to stay straight. Cold as Ice is going to have a
lane,
passage, a big lane to work from, and that's what he needs, Ian, because he's not going to use. I think in the second round he crashed out the traps, but he just got tapped for toe into the turn, and he got dragged back, but he still qualified.
Yeah, I think where he's improved, like he was always been very strong. He's always been very fast. We've known that about him. I think he's improved his track craft. I think he's not finding as much trouble as he once was. I think he's learning on the game. Okay, he has 24 races, so it's due. But I think that experience is standing to him now, because he did meet an awful lot of traffic in sort of 10 or 12 of his first 15 or 16 races. It just seemed every night he was running into a pocket.
Yeah, I don't think he really knew where he wanted to run, Ian. That was the thing. I don't really know. He's one of those greyhounds, and he kept running off a little bit out the second bend. But you're right, he was more trapping, getting a little bit tap for toe, and then having to find his way around the first bend. But I think now you're right. He's a bit more battle hardened now, and he knows where he wants to be. And as I say, I do think he's got a really good makeup here.
Yeah, I think he does as well. I think Cold as Ice might qualify. I also have a sneaky feeling Toolmaker Sydney might just have too much pace for a couple of these down the back straight, where they're fast greyhounds. I just think Toolmaker Sydney, if he finds himself in a decent enough pitch off the second bend, he'll get racing, and he really does hammer down into that third bend, and that might be the key to his qualification. But Deirdre Sydney, a fairly confident selection for us. Just a point there, just before we go on to Heat 2, Cold as Ice, we were speaking there of the fact that he didn't know where to go, and he's improved. A lot of the UK dogs improve for a Derby campaign because they get more runs at a track. Whereas a lot of your competitions are 2-3 run competitions. They get that chance to have 5-6 runs at the one track in a row. It sort of helps them sort of get themselves sort of stable, sort of comfortable in the surroundings. Is that true to say?
I think so, yeah. I think he's a good point in the case, isn't he, Cold as Ice? Because he was one of those greyhounds, I think, in his younger days, I say, he was running a bit in, a bit out, and he didn't really. But he's running a lot better now. I just think he looks a really good competition dog. I was quite surprised that he was put in the Derby, but you have to hold your hands up to Jimmy Fennick and say, well, he was right, because he's reached the quarterfinals, and actually he has got a chance of getting in the semis as well.
He sure does. No, Jimmy, sporting man. If you have a dog fast enough, put them in the Derby. I remember saying that to PJ Fahey many years ago. He won that same Derby with Tyrone McGuigan, who at the time would have been about his 8th choice. But, things can happen. On to the second heat, the second quarterfinal of the Derby. This is no easy task. Now, I know 5 has come out of it, Faugh and Rebel, and there's only the 5 of them left. But you could certainly make claims for each and every runner. New in Sessions in red, he hasn't really taken to the places yet. But again, he's had those 3 or 4 runs now. Who's to say with a better start, he can't play a big part proceedings? Graham is hoping that his trapping will come. He said that's the problem. He's just not getting a chance to get full speed on the bunny. He's going to need to be racing, because Aussie Captain's certainly going to go fast in 2. Bocco's Belly, the track record holder, is absolutely flying in 3. In fairness to Patrick Janssens, every time I've heard him speak about this dog over the last 6 months, he's a Kinloch Bray. He's a Kinloch Bray. He needs to be 2. He needs to be 2. You've never seen a pup win it. You've never seen a Kinloch Bray win a puppy competition. And he's right. They do seem to improve. They do seem to mature. And Bocco's Belly is certainly doing that. Gaytime Milo, I thought was a bit big at 12-1. He's a very capable greyhound. He hasn't taken a flyer of a start. He can do that. And Unlock, who seems to be capturing the hearts around Towcester. Obviously, the backstory, she has a litter of pups on the ground. I was a big fan prior to her pups, so I'm not jumping on the bandwagon here. I knew she was an absolute aeroplane. She's proving it. it's one of those heats where, it's terribly sad for the connections of Faughan Rebel, and especially this dog, because he's been blighted with injuries. And, the fact that they seem to have him right and he's been running so well, the fact that he's out, it's an awful shame for all connected, but it almost makes the heat more intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Faughan Rebel's always been one of those greyhounds that looked to produce but never quite did it. He was one of those I think they tried him as a wide, and then he's now a middle. And he's one of those where he's probably just got good all-round pace, but he hasn't really got a lot of early particularly. So he always needs that little bit of luck in his races. And it is a terrible shame, because basically he's a quality greyhound. I think retirement beckons for him. I think it's a serious wrist injury. So I think it's stopper bone. So it's a massive shame. It actually gives Unlock an even better chance, Ian. I've been a great fan of hers right from when I saw her run Native Maestro so close in the first round. I went, wow, this bitch can run. I mean, that's what really caught my eye. And I made her a nap in the second round, and she came from a mile off to beat Queen Dolly, and it was a phenomenal performance.
She had to get loose first, and then she was still 5 or 6 lengths behind. Yeah.
Incredible performance. I mean, she's just. And then actually, I did bet Forest Gold at 12-1 last week, and then save on Lock. So it was when they went past together, it was a really exciting race. And I didn't know who'd won. And she's just one of those bitches that you just see her qualify, and then Brenda Matthews, Damien Matthews, anything could happen in a final. I really believe she'll be there come Derby final night. She's got a huge chance. And I have got a theory about what's going to happen on the inside as well, because I actually don't think that New In Session's got a good draw in one. I don't think it's a good draw for him at all. And I picked up.
He's always preferred to be out a little bit, 2-3. That seems where he's done his best starting. And the fact that he's not running the place great, it's not going to give him the cleanest look at the corner either.
No. Listen, he outpaced Aussie Captain to the bend. They met in the second round. Aussie Captain was in 2 and New In Session was in 3. And Aussie Captain trapped well but held his line. New In Session slightly outpaced him to the turn but couldn't clear him. And Aussie Captain just bumped him a little bit at the first bend. And I think it's one of those. I think New In Session is one of those grounds that he's never going to miss his break and rush up. But if he starts, he will show early pace. With it. And I don't think that trap 1 is really conducive to him smashing the bars down, like you said about Forest Gold in the first quarterfinal. So I don't really expect New In Session to come flying out the boxes. Obviously, I've got him probably third in this race because of his quality. He's just a good all-round fast greyhound. But I don't really like his makeup here. I don't like his makeup. I think Aussie Captain will edge in. Aussie Captain has been flying out the boxes again for Patrick. So I could see they might just brush shoulders. They might just cause themselves a few problems. I don't think it'll be too dramatic. But again, Ian, you're looking to get a clear run when you're reaching the quarterfinal of a Greyhound Derby, and I'm not too sure they will. So therefore, I do think that Bocco's Belly, second round, that was his clock, 29.03. From this very box, he broke clean. He went over the line in a 4.17. In the third round last Saturday, he missed his break from 2. How he ever qualified, I will never know, other than his sire is Kinloch Bray and he's a strong running sire. Patrick said this. Actually, I've got a little bitch with Patrick Durando double. She's out of Roxo Magic. And obviously she should stay. And Patrick keeps saying to me, he said, those Kinloch Brays, he said, they mature. He said, they stay there. A much better greyhound, he said. When you
start wondering, does Patrick wake up in the morning and go, Kinloch Brays. It's not, no, another 3 months, months.
But Patrick, I actually had a conversation with Patrick in the week. He kind of thinks like me. He kind of leaves no stone unturned. He thinks about everything. I said, I can't believe you're thinking of the B team. Well, he's got he's got the 4 Derby contenders, and you're thinking about Durando double. I had a bit of a laugh with him, but he's thinking. The man is thinking all the time. He doesn't leave anything to chance. And Bocco's Belly, I think, has got a real good makeup here. I think that 3 is his box. When he burst onto the scene at Central Park, Lorraine was raving about him. She said that dog will win the Derby. She said, and of course he ended up under the inside running rail, didn't he? And he just hurt himself. I was talking to Bev actually. I've never met Bev Lockhead, but I saw her on Saturday after. It's the first time I stayed after racing on Saturday, and I had a chat with quite a few people. Again, like you say, it's about that. We're now getting back to normality, and it was really good to talk to Bev, and Graham was there as well, and they've kind of nursed him back. They've swum him in back at home. They got a pool for him, and when I saw Bocco's Belly in the trial, and then I saw him in the first round, I said, this dog's back. This dog has turned a corner. That's the phraseology I used. He's turned the corner, and it's down to Patrick. It's down to Patrick, and obviously Bev and Graham. And I think that's where probably Patrick succeeds in that he talks to his owners. They chew ideas around together, and I mean, to do a track record, he's obviously got a massive chance of winning the Derby. It's just that he needs the right scenario, Ian. And I think actually he's got a really good makeup in the second quarterfinal.
Once he hits it, he has a really good makeup, because if he doesn't hit, he might get involved as well in whatever traffic that could potentially be on the inside. Graham Box actually rang me prior to buying the dog. He said he sort of left a voice message, and I got him back to about 3 hours later. That's okay. I sort of bought that dog. He'd won in he'd run twice in Thurles in the Casco stake down there, stake that always produces good ones. And this fellow, then obviously we had to wait to see him in Central Park. That first night was just incredible. I thought he was going to go and just take all ahead of him. But as you said, just that little problem after going underneath the rail and stuff like that, and it set him back, and then sort of went back into a shell a little bit. We didn't see him sort of strut his stuff until basically, the night in the Derby when he did that 29.03, and I've no doubt there's probably better to come from him in the future. And if he keeps trapping like he did that night, well, as you say, Paul, he's a massive, massive player. It's one of those heats where we could talk about it all night and all day. Aussie Captain, the dog called Ballymac Captain in his youth. He started out at Enniscorthy for George Roach. It was after a couple of big runs at Shelburne Park when Sir Georgie got onto me and said, well, I'm thinking of selling that dog. I've had a couple of offers. What do you think he's worth? Now, I didn't think he was worth what Georgie was asking for him. And I don't know what he eventually got, but I can promise you one thing. I was wrong. The way he's running now, he's certainly a player in the Derby, because he has that mix of early speed and he just keeps rolling to the line. The flashy time isn't there, but he's just going to be one of those dogs that if he's in front, he's going to be hard to pass. Yeah,
it's a really good story as well, isn't it? Because he's owned by a group of lads that ended up buying a ground, Kenny the Brute, in Australia through lockdown when there was no racing here. And that's not kind of. Patrick said he's been to Australia. I've yet to go there. I did a lot of Australian racing when I was doing Go Barky Mad in 2001, and that was when that kind of hooked me. Was when Brett Lee started, and we were following Brett Lee. He obviously became a bit of a racing phenomenon, but also in the breeding paddocks. Yeah, exactly. So Aussie Captain was one of those where the lads probably got on the back of a bit of success with Kenny the Brute. They said, well, look, let's get a Derby dog. And what a great story that is. Patrick's done wonders with him. He's one of those greyhounds as well. He's kind of just a little bit going under the radar, Ian, really. But I think he's going the right way. He's improving. It's typical Pat Jansen's tactics.
It's probably down to the fact that he's only had the 3 starts in the UK. All 3 of them came in the Derby, so you're sort of getting to know him as we speak.
Exactly. And I think I remember Patrick saying that he's taken a bit of a while to settle in. And you don't really see that, do you? As a punter or an enthusiast or an outsider looking in, you don't really see how a dog's demeanour is at a kennel. Whereas Patrick would be working on that. He'd spot that. He'd know that. And as you can tell, I'm quite a fan of Patrick.
Yeah, he is a good character. Paul, getting back to the betting end of things, just looking at the prices, new in sessions around 5 on the exchange. Aussie Captain 6, so around 5 to 1. Bocco's Belly is the 7-4 Jolly, 275. Gaytime Milo is at 13, and Unlock and Lock is 11-4, so 375. Of those, is there anything that really catches your eye at those prices? A good point was made by Eddie Goodall here in the comments about Deerjet Sydney. Just going back to the first heat, he said I'm worried about the draw, and the 155 may well become bigger later in the week. If there's a drift, and that's the beauty of the exchange, that they will be betting right up to the off. And if you don't fancy it at that price, you have the option to lay it, or you can wait, and who knows, it might hit a 170 or something like that.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. Actually, I think 155 is his price. Not to bet at, and I think there will be people with opinions to say, look, it's not his ideal draw. We'll try and get him beat. So I think from my point of view, I'm quite happy to sit it out, and I've not really got a strong opinion either way. I just want him to be there. So my heart is probably ruling my head there, but there will be those punters that will want to take him on because he hasn't got an ideal makeup.
So at these respective prices in the second heat, is there anything that jumps out at you, or is there one that you'd say, I'll wait because I think that'll drift, or it might even go short, and I might lay it, one or the other?
No, well, I think you wouldn't. I make Unlock and Lock more of a 3.25 chance. So did you say 3.75? It's getting to the boardroom where I might have a little bit of an interest there. I actually think Gaytime Milo's got a really good makeup here. I don't think Gaytime Milo is without. I don't think Gaytime Milo should be double digits. And I've got my price here, and it's not double digits. And that I think is the fact that Gaytime Milo again. And that was probably a bit of an influence from my part, being on the seeding panel. I thought Gaytime Milo would be better down the middle. I thought he ran a monster race last time out of 4.
He did. Like he's challenging for second into the bend. The All About Ted Dog had gone by him, but he's still on the outside of his Jaguar Macy, and I'm not sure what's her inside. Whatever it was, it ultimately ended Jaguar Macy's challenge, but he took a hefty bump on the corner, but rode it like it was a real racy display. It was a racing Greyhounds performance. He got over it very quickly,
and yeah, he clocked his fastest of the round. So in my eyes, Ian, again, he's running a straight line from 4. He's definitely 4 is perfect for him. It is a perfect trap. So getting drawn red for him in the second round, it's no good. He's not going to perform to his best. So I think that switch to the middle could easily be the maker. He's no forlorn hope here by any means, because he's a greyhound that's actually going the right way at the right time. And like you mentioned earlier on, he's learning how to run Towcester now. And to do that, get the whack and still do what he did, he got beat by All About Ted, 2.5. And that was All About Ted on the rabbit with a clear run. That I think Gaytime Milo is probably going to, again, we spoke about Eddie Goodall there. If people don't watch it, they could get caught out here, because if he drifts out to a 14 or a 16 on the matchbook, then he'd be worth a little interest.
Yeah, it's easy to get sucked into like Sabacco's belly at 275 when you look at his track record run. But if he misses the kick, something like Gaytime Milo gets in front of him, he's not picking him up. That's the way it is. So yeah, the 13 looks big. I'd be sort of more an 8-1 chance, or sort of about a 9. At the same time, I wouldn't like to be laying him at that. Do you know, that sort of way? If you were thinking along those lines, he is 107 on Matchbook in the exchange. Just if you thought he'd qualify just for a little nibble, you never know. One of those, they can happen. Go back to Astute Missile here at Towcester, so it can happen.
Yeah. No, it's not impossible for him to be in the next round. I think anything could win this race. I think they're priced up pretty much spot on how I would say their chances are. But like you say, anything can happen. And I've just got Gaytime Milo that little bit shorter in.
So if you were to have an interest nibble on it, would it be Unlock and Lock at the 375 or Gaytime Milo with the 13? Or indeed, have you been thrown us a sprat? Is there something else you want to back?
No, I make Bocco's Belly favourite. I've got a theory that Bocco's Belly will clear the inside pair. and I don't think Unlock would be really near Bocco's belly on the front end. But you're right, he's not always going to go and do that 4-1-7 sectional. I just think the track will help him do that. I really do. I think it's a perfect box for him. 3 perfect box. But I think gun to my head, the draw, the fact that she's flying, and she's going to get a clear run. I've got to go with Unlock. I've got to.
In fairness, PL, you've covered 3 bases there. You know, if new in session, Rosie Captain hit the lids now, you'd be in for some stick. Right, we'll move on to the third heat because, you know, I said the last one was intriguing. This is absolutely fascinating. We've got 2 or 3 young, progressive greyhounds taking on some more experienced trackers. There's early speed, there's middle pace, there's stamina. It's just one of those contests. At the present, Ballymac Fair one is 375 in trap 1. Thorn Falcon's he's 4 out in trap 6, and All About Dead is 134.33 or so on the exchange. It's then Bubbly Magnum at 5. I thought he was plenty short enough now. I'd have nearly had him sort of at double figures, I must admit. Mingler's Popeye is at 13. I can't see his presence helping the likes of Bubbly Magnum and those on the outside because they're going to have to get around him, and he is a natural starter. And Clara Lyon, it probably just hasn't happened for him. He has a little bit of age in his side. He's probably not the dog he once was, but again, it's an intriguing contest. Ballymac Fair 1 and Thorn Falcon are the 2 young greyhounds that really are going places.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We could spend quite a long while talking about this, me and you.
Yeah. In that case, we won't spend too long on it then.
Because you look at the best price in the village, and it really is a 3 the field. And I think the starting point's got to be Ballymac Fair 1, Ian. I think you've got to start with Liam's dog here because, like you say, he's young and he is open to improvement. I thought he showed real guts and determination to off a missed break last week to win his race. He was Manat last week, and I thought he'd come flying out the boxes and lead, and he had to work really hard because Drumcrow Brent went wallop on the outside, and he's as you know, he's a strong dog. But he's probably a 29.50 dog, Drumcrow Brent, whereas Ballymac Fair 1 has already done the 29.09. But like we mentioned, he's done it from box 3.
Yeah,
come flying out the boxes and kind of then edged in, hasn't he?
If you're taking the 375, you know, those first 5 strides are just vital.
Exactly. You need him to come out from the boxes. Now, he's only had 6 races and he's only ever trapped from box 1 once in his life, but that wasn't his debut, and it was in the first round of the Kirby. So, you know, you can't really read too much into that. You've got to look at, well, what's he going to do at Towcester? I just feel I got the same kind of impression as you in that I don't really expect him to come flying out the boxes. That's my little one worry. If they break level, I don't see anything coming around him. I think he's got enough early. But he's another one of those dogs, Ian. He needs that trapping ability to show then that early. I thought he showed more sort of late early last Saturday when he had to grind out a victory, shall we say.
Yeah, it took him a while to get going, but then that last 40 yards into the bend, he drove and got himself into a pitch. You said he showed great determination and drive, and he did at that point. I thought off the second bend he showed real class. It was more of a more affluent movement. It was just a whoosh moment where he quickly opened up. You know, he quickly got past Drumcrow Brent and opened up that length, and it was a decisive length in the finish. But as you said, he had to show the determination to get into that position.
He did, yeah, and that's the measure of a young greyhound, isn't it? And that, again, you're probably right in that So half of his career now has been at Towcester. Half of his career has been at Towcester. He's 3 of his 6 have been at Towcester. He just seems to me to be, again, another greyhound that's quietly progressing, quietly going about his business. And I had to make him favourite in this race. But I have got a difference of opinion to a certain extent with this race. That's why I said we could spend a lot of time, but I'm getting the impression that I'm talking too much. But
you think Bubbly Magnum's going to fly up the middle?
I do.
I do. I had a feeling when you give it a smile, you were going to say that.
No, I do, because I think Mingler's Popeye is actually a really good ally for Bubbly Magnum. Now, if Ballymac Fair 1 doesn't come flying out the boxes, I don't expect Clara Lyon to come flying out the boxes. I think you're right. Clara Lyon's he's that sort of professional competition dog where he'll just keep grinding out a place. I don't expect Clara Lyon to really lead any kind of race with this quality. He might get lucky and he might squeeze through in a qualifying place, but I don't expect him to be up there early. Mingler's Popeye is a greyhound that I've seen from Newcastle. Originally, they seeded him middle. I think he drew trap 5 at Newcastle, and he definitely wanted to become. And then they took the middle off him straight away.
Yeah, he was an inside seed to Shelburne Park. Real good early speed.
Yeah, this greyhound, if he's a bit like, he'd be a Dear Jet Sydney. If he sees that inside running rail,
yeah,
that'll be his. And he did that. And if you look at his second round effort versus his third round effort, he ran against Roxham Shake twice, exactly the same boxes. Roxham Shake, when he trapped level with him, Mingler's Popeye stayed level with him. Roxham Shake missed it last week. Mingler's Popeye went wallop. He went straight for the inside. That again, what I call maybe the comfort blanket, of that inside running rail. If this dog traps, and again, like you say, from the 3, a bit like the Dear Jet Sydney scenario, he will go straight left for the inside.
I wouldn't say if he traps. I would say more when he traps. Yeah, because he just is one of those dogs. He rarely misses it. And if he's in the bingo box, it's only going to happen. It almost sucks them out.
It's more likely to happen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. And that is my theory of the race. I actually think, again, I don't make him anywhere near double digits. I actually think at double figures, he is a bet.
Bubbly.
No, Minglers.
Oh, Minglers. Oh, sorry, you're Minglers, not Bubbly Magnum.
I don't make...
Okay.
No, this is the theory, Ian. But I think the two of them are overpriced. I think both of them are overpriced because of the scenario of the race. Because of I've got every respect for Ballymac Fair one. I've got you. You're more bolshy than me in actual fact, because you're saying Mingler's Popeye will come flying out those boxes. What I'm saying to you is, if Mingler's Popeye comes flying out those boxes, that's good for Bubbly Magnum, because the oceans are going to open up for him. He's going to have that cleared out. He never came out the boxes again last week. Bubbly Magnum, you would expect bump, 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 clockwork breaker. He didn't quite do it last week, and that was out of 5, by the way. He's back into his beloved trap 4, and he wants to kind of just edge in a little bit. He wants lane 3, really. 4's perfect. It's fine. That's fine. But he'll move into lane 3. But he'll be fairly straight from the 4 box. If he traps, he'll show that early. This is another dog. Last year's Nottingham Derby was too soon for him. He was only a young greyhound there, probably with not that racing mentality. Now this dog is growing up. Paul's got him fresh. He's got him going right at the right time. That was, again, another monumental performance for a front-running greyhound not to lead last week behind Aussie captain to qualify. That was only picked up late by Beach Avenue. You know what I mean? The strongest runner in the Derby, probably.
Exactly. I'm going to bring you down to 5 and 6 here. All About Ted. I thought Bubbly Magnum would edge into 3, like yourself. All About Ted didn't hit the lids last week again, but he still did a 4:21 and showed terrific early speed. I think he's really coming into hand. I think he's really coming to himself at the right time. My fear is that first 2 or 3 strides, that he might just be trying to make up too much ground into the corner against real early speed, and that's going to be his problem. But I can promise you one thing: if this dog traps on level terms, he'll be thereabouts on that corner.
He's fast enough. The clock doesn't lie. He clocked to 29, and you only had to listen to Mikey. That he was absolutely over the moon, and Peter's got this dog again coming to hand at the right time. Again, he's learning how to run Towcester, and he was another one. If he was mine, I think I would have put a wide on him. I would have had him in a wide box. Just that, the way that the seeding was happening at Towcester, I would have. Listen, I'm no trainer, but I just thought it'd help him, and it did help him. He got drawn 6 as a middle dog last week. And
it was cold as ice in 5, and he was edging inwards. We knew that, so it did look a good draw from the start. And the fact that Jaguar Macy took the bump at boxes further aided him. But the pace he showed into the corner, he may well have led anyway. Yeah,
and you're right about Jaguar Macy. She bombed out, and you thought, "Oh, what's happened to her?" But she did tangle up. I think it was not out of the way she tangled with on the inside. Yeah. But it probably helped. But I thought Gaytime might have run well. But all about Ted. He's got a chance. Again, he's quick enough to win this race. I just expect Bubbly Magnum to lead him, Ian. That's the thing. So therefore, I think his chances
are restricted.
His price gets big. Yeah. But you're right. He didn't do it by smashing the boxes down. He did it by raw pace. So he's got some kind of squeeze. He's got a chance. It is a wide open contest. We haven't even mentioned Thorin Falcon. He's 3-1 second in.
I fear for him in this contest because of
Me
all
too.
the early speed of his inside. And while he does run to the winning line, I don't think he's this powerhouse where he'll be coming from off the pace. I think he does need, at this stage of a derby, to be up close to the pace. And I fear that if he doesn't take an absolute flyer from trap 6, he just might find himself in a bit of bother.
Yeah, and the other thing, what he's doing as well, Ian, he's cutting the bend. He's definitely edging in on the turn, and that in this lineup ain't going to help him. And I must admit, I've got him a little bit bigger than Four Dead, but I could make him bigger than that, really. But the thing is, he is a quality dog. You know, he's another greyhound that's, you know, he's coming to hand and he's taken to Towcester. He runs Towcester well, but in this makeup, I actually do fear for him. I do fear for him a little bit. I do. Yeah, I've got the scenario down the middle where
you're Dutching. I know what you're doing. You're Dutching minglers and you're bubbling.
I am. Yeah,
that's the way it is. Yeah.
But I might even cover on Ballymac Fair one just in case that dog. I like this race. I am strong in this race. I'm strong as an opinion. My opinion is different to your opinion, and of course that's the beauty. That's going to be the beauty of Matchbook, is that your opinion is different to my opinion, so I might get a bit of value. And you might get your trousers taken down.
Yeah, well, listen, now we won't be putting up 10-1 about Bubbly Mag. I can promise you that. Tell me this. Is it a watching brief for you? Like, if you were tipping one, for irrespective of prices, what would it be? And looking at the prices, what would you back?
I'd have to bet. Yeah, I'd have to bet the pair of them. I've got to bet the pair of them in, because they're over the prices I make them.
Yeah, I'm going to wear my green tinted glasses. I'm going to go with the Irish. The Irish to finish first and second. It's the safest bet. When you haven't a clue how a heat's going to go, just go with what you know.
So you're going with Fair One, yeah?
I might go for All About Ted, actually, to beat Fair One. With a view that if All About Ted was to get to the front, it would probably rule out 3 and 4. It means they probably haven't taken the flyer that they need, and then Fair One probably is close enough to the inside to go around second.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this race. Working out the scenarios, you're right.
Yeah,
and I can't actually disagree with it, because that could possibly happen.
Well, it's lucky because we're talking a long time. It's lucky the last one's a while. You know, it's an absolutely straightforward contest. Like, there's only one. Oh wait, hang on a second. The last heat would be fitting of the Derby final itself, Paul. Signed at aces in 1. He's absolutely motoring to the corner. Trap 1 is going to be the issue, though. Ballymac Wild is in 2. The Warrior, he's never out of the frame. He's made so many finals, and he's a superstar. The Machine, you know, he's 10. That's just massive. That's massive. I know a lot's going to have to happen in his favour to win it. Given the company that's going to be in front of him. Knockable Sid, the other night, we saw the real Knockable Sid sucked out of trap 4, showed his early dash, which someone had said to me, they'd emailed in on Racing Post TV about Knockable Sid, that he hadn't shown his early dash in the first 2 rounds. I put it to you that he's one of those dogs, when he sees daylight, he goes. When he doesn't see daylight, he's more likely to pick his spot rather than driving forward. Adele's Duke has been running unbelievably well for Leafield. When I tell you, Paul, I was told about this dog in Shelburne Park. He'd come from Clonmel, big price, big reputation. I said to myself, he's going to struggle to win an A1 here at Shelburne. And he's absolutely taken off since he's gone to Lee. And this dog is flying. And there's a bit of Ringo hustle about him. He just knows where his opposition are coming, and he's not afraid to move and use himself. He's just one of those dogs where he's a racer. And then Beach Avenue out in trap 6, who for me is probably amongst the fastest greyhounds of the last 5 years from the second bend home. It's an absolutely intriguing affair. There's no point in going into too much depth because you could make claims for all of them. But Paul, what's the general view of this? What way do you see it going?
I mean, you're right. Front runners, you've got Sign It Ace, Knockable Sid, and Adele's Duke. I think you're just going to see what happened last week. Knockable Sid, Wallop, gets to the front, good night. Ta-da, see you at the pickup.
If he does that, Sign It Ace and Adele's Duke are in trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're looking for 2 out of the 3 stayers.
Yeah. And Ballymac Wild, the Machine at Beach Avenue.
Yeah. So, and the thing is as well, Sign It Ace, like you say, is probably the inclination is going to be to move off, which is a little bit of a negative for Ballymac Wild. His best option is miss it, let Sign It Ace go off, claim the rails, and then out the second bend, get on your bikes and
Yeah,
see if you can get to
you
the
say
finishing
miss
line
it.
quick.
You say miss it, but it's imperative you miss it, but stay in front of the machine and Beach
Yeah,
Avenue into the back straight.
it's true because I mean, I'm the same as you with Beach Avenue. He's just an absolute monster of a dog, isn't he? He's just an absolute monster. And I actually did have a little bit of each way at him at 25's Beach Avenue. Because of that sort of qualification all the time. And I've had a little nibble at the machine as well on the exchanges. Because again, I think Brendan will just keep getting him to qualify. But here, it's a bit of a head scratcher to work out which of the three stayers are going to get the qualifying spot. Because
I saw Damien Matthews last
lead.
night. I saw Damien Matthews last night. He'd been telling he told Julie on Race Post TV last week that the dog had been suffering with a bit of a tummy problem and whatnot. And, I saw him last night. I said, "Well, how's the dog?" And he opened up his phone and he showed me a picture of this dog stretched out, hanging like he looked like a fella what you call them, the beds you sleep on the beach, a hammock with a cocktail in hand. He just looked like the most content greyhound. He says, "How do you think he is?" I said, "He looks well in himself. He's flying." He says, "So grand." So don't worry about the machine. But as you say, it's just one of those contests. Beach Avenue, I would have bet him for pounds, shillings, and pence each way at Nottingham. If it'd been 16-1 anti-post, I'd have backed him for pounds, shillings, and pence at Nottingham because you're guaranteed he would have got to the final around there. It's a different track. He doesn't quite get the chance to get his momentum up to where it can be at the likes of a Shelburne Park, but he's still going to be very hard to keep out of the frame because only one of the early pacers can set the pace, and that's the key to this race, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. That is the key to that. You're right. You're reading it very much the same way as me. I think as much as Adele's, I mean, you're right. Lee's done absolutely fantastic with him. He's unbeaten so far. He's been showing flying runs to the turn, and he's kept digging and finding plenty when he's been pressured by good dogs. So there's a lot to like about him. Sign It Ace is another greyhound that I've always followed. I know the dogs are. He looks more of a speed dog for me, like ideal for Monmore. The 480 speed track, Ian. But I've been surprised with him.
Do you know what he looks, Paul? He looks like a Shelburne Park top of the ground in September dog. Along the run to the corner, he looks that type of greyhound.
Well, what I'm trying to say it to you is actually surprised me with the way he hasn't really looked too vulnerable, has he? That's the thing. He hasn't. But again, it's out the trap 3 box. He's had trap 3 in every round and broke nicely and just showed that raw early pace and got to the front and never looked like getting beat in those 3 efforts. I mean, they're both unbeaten, 1 and 5. But in the makeup of this race, I do fear for them. I do fear for their qualification because I do think that Not the Bull Sid, Pat Buckley got him right, got his box, wallop, leads, and that should be good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, on a bad day, he leads up Ballymacwild, the machine, and Beach Avenue anyway. And it's then just a case of, Adele's Duke is on his outside. So in theory, he only has to break on level terms with him. And then if Sign It Ace even just misses at half a beat at Trap Rise, it's a different race.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that they're the scenarios. I mean, I guess Sign It Ace might trap from the inside because Ballymacwild shouldn't really trouble him, Ian, should it, in the early kind of few meters? But it's all on that. It's all on that break from the traps. You don't really expect him to come flying out from the inside. You just don't expect it.
Best bet of Heat 4?
It's got to be Not the Bull Sid. I think it's just a straightforward bet.
You think the 9-4 is about right, or do you think it's a little generous?
So you're telling me it's 3.25 with Matchbook?
Yeah.
Then I'll be taking that. Thank you.
Remember, Greyhounds, all in capitals, bet 10, get 10 free. That's if you haven't signed up already, Paul.
No, that's what I'm going to do. I said to Lorraine earlier on, I'm going to be doing that.
Love it. Yeah, it's a very intriguing contest. I tend to agree with you. Knock the Bull Sid has now shown that run from Trap 4. I think there's still better for him to come because I still don't think we've seen the greyhound we saw at the Easter Cup in Shelburne Park. I think he's better to come. I think Pat Buckley he's played his hand beautifully through this derby. I think his 2 dogs are really coming to the boil at the right time. I do fear for Sign It Ace and Adele's Duke if Knock the Bull Sid hits the corner, and then it's a case of where does the machine get his run? Beach Avenue, I think it will qualify because he does tend to stay out that bit wider at times, and he's just more likely to get a clear run than the machine. But Ballymacwild is he's the spanner in the works, shall we say, if let's say Knockable Sid got loose and maybe signed an ace in the Del's Duke were to hang on for a qualifying spot. But no, it's an intriguing contest. Of the four heats, what's the banker bet? Go on.
Good question.
You want to say it? You want to say the Dutch, don't you?
I probably do, really, but I can't do that. No, I think no. I've just said to you. I think it's a straightforward bet. Not the bullshit. I can't. You're right. Pat Buckley's got this dog, and I think Emma intimated that they were struggling with him with a little niggle, and I think that's been straightened. And I think you only have to look at the way that dog came flying out the boxes. That dog was missing it out of trap 2 and still doing 29.45. Thank you very much. Yeah, and qualifying. He's just got class. He's a fast greyhound that can lead a race. So
you're going to be taking the 325.
See, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Do you know what? You might have to be fingers fast as finger first, because I might do as well. I think that's the way I'm going to side, just at the prices. You know, I'm not going to tip up Deerjet Sydney at 2-1, and then the other two heats there's just too many ponderables. So I'm going to go with Knock the Bull Sid, because I do believe, like you, that he's going to hit the lids. Paul, what wins the Derby?
I've got to say Deerjet Sydney, really. I mean, listen, I'm involved. I hope Unlock and Lock does, because for financial reasons. That would be my best result. Now I was on Native Maestro, unfortunately, quite lumpy. But
yeah, he just an update. He's got a small muscle injury. He'll be back in a month, so it wasn't. Yeah. I feared it was going to be worse, but you could tell the way he ran on to the escape. Yeah. It was probably muscular rather than a bone injury. Yeah,
I agree with you there, Ian. And yeah, fingers crossed he comes back all right. But yeah, no, I'm going to stick with Unlock and Lock, because I just think she would keep qualifying. I think she's a monster. A lovable monster.
She is a monster. What's that coming over the hill? It's a monster. Yeah. I'm going to go with Knock the Bull Sid, because he's worth a few quid to me as well. Thankfully at the right prices. Paul, it's been a pleasure. We might do this again next week. What do you think?
No, we're going to do it again next week. Yeah, and I look forward to it. It's been brilliant. Honestly, I've really enjoyed chatting to a man that knows greyhounds inside out. It's a pleasure, mate.
Where is he?
No, it's you, son. It's you.
Listen, enjoy the weekend. Have a great time calling them home. Hopefully you're calling home the right ones. I'd love to see 9 Irish semi-finalists if you can swing that some way or other.
That's a bit greedy, isn't it?
A bit greedy. But if you go with the prices, the prices, I think we're guaranteed about 8.5. I think there's a joint third favourite in there somewhere.
Yeah, but we're looking at the scenarios, because we differ with Bubbly Magnum.
Oh yeah, we do indeed. Well, listen, you'll either have bragging rights, or else you have to sort of cower down to me later on. That'll be the key. Okay, listen, enjoy.
Well, we get the license tomorrow for Lifford. Let's all cross our fingers for that, because that will be something to talk about next week.
As doggy people, that's what we want to hear. Listen, Paul, best of luck. We'll see you next week. That's it for Matchbook today. We hope we haven't bored you too much over the last hour, but there's just so much to talk about as regards this English Derby. It really is a fascinating competition. It's really coming to a boil at a lovely stage. 23 dogs remain. There'll be an action at Towcester on Saturday night. I hope you enjoy the action. Don't forget, Greyhounds, all in capital, your bonus code to sign up for your €10 free bet on the Greyhounds with Matchbook. That's it from us for this week. We'll see you next time.